Hey there, Postal here. So today we're going to be taking a look at continuing our Universal Soldiers look at Tier 8, 9, and 10 on the fighter line of the Focke-Wulf event that's going on here. You're going to have the TA-152, TA-183, and the FW-252. Let's take a look at these. Alright, so we're taking out our TA-152. Full disclosure, this is almost certainly my least favorite plane in the game. Especially my least favorite at this tier. We've actually got a TA-152 on the enemy team, so yay. And an FW-1, well, yay. Just everybody doing everything, huh? Why do I hate this plane? Well, on paper, it should be freaking awesome. You have three, I'm gonna die here already. None of my shots hit. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have known that none of my shots were going to hit. Because that's why I hate this plane so much. It is so over-nerfed. I guess back in the day, back before I got it, it was too accurate. And so what Wargaming did is they made it too inaccurate. And so these three shots will literally just go right past a plane. There's no flexibility with the guns on this plane. So you really do want to be going for typically heavy fighters and the like, because you'll have better chances of your ridiculous accuracy doing ridiculous accuracy kind of things. Oh no. But let's talk about the good things about this plane, okay? The guns are terrible, absolutely terrible. They make the plane the most frustrating thing to play. Great, Postal, we got it. What are the good things about it? Well, as you can see, I've got pretty darn good speed. And it actually has really good altitude. You can compare yourself to a... Oh my gosh, I'm going so fast. Of course, I knocked out his engine. Great altitude and airspeed. Wonderful. Again, on paper, this plane should be a blast. No pun intended. Good altitude, good speed, terrible maneuverability, but that's fine. That can be dealt with. What can't be dealt with is... trying to figure out where I need to go to. Is the guns. So... you've got the worst maneuverability at your tier, which is saying something. So a lot of people complain about the maneuverability on the P-51H, but this makes that plane look like a dogfighter. There we go. Oh, I'm still trying to get this sector. Cool. Now, keep in mind, of course, I do not have full pilot build on this. I don't have Marksman 2, which I feel like you probably really desperately want. Yeah. Yep. Just going right through this plane, because why? Why not? You want to keep your targets at 1,000,000 miles from you. It's funny, we're freaking kicking this game's butt. Not in our plane, but our team is. Thank you to our FW-190A-8, which is basically the same thing as an FW-190D. There are some slight differences. So the best way to have these guns actually do something is keep your target way far away. Which can be kind of counterintuitive when you're in a plane that goes as fast as this plane goes. I mean, you can just look at the airframe. Look how small the wings are. Yeah, they're wide, but they're very thin. They're very short. The fuselage itself, it's like a bicyclist. You know, those guys weigh like 50 pounds. But they're all muscle. That's what this is. It's a bicyclist that can't aim. Alright, so let's go for something we might actually have some success against. We're doing okay, but it's just so freaking frustrating. I'd almost rather have 20mm cannons here. Not even almost. I'd much rather have 20mm cannons. Hell, I'd rather have frickin' 50 cal machine guns. Gotta be pixel perfect with this plane, right? So let's get slightly closer. It's a shame that I am the one that's leading the team, because that means we're in... Oh, yeah, knock out my pilot. Yeah, that's what I need, is even worse accuracy, you jerk. Did I just get him knocked out again? That's hilarious. Thank you, Key 84. A better tier 8 plane than the plane I'm playing. Yeah, this plane just needs to be balanced. You know, fine. They balanced it because the guns do too much damage when they hit. All right. Then make the guns do less damage or something, but let them frickin' hit. Good grief. I'm gonna try to get this garrison over here. What are we doing here? Oh. Here comes a fighter. Problem is, does he have... Gotta be pixel perfect. Oh my goodness.
Hang in there. You'll soon be cut off from support. I say again, support will not
Oh my goodness. I just feel like this plane is always on a razor's edge, and not in a good way, not in an exciting way. You know, not in a uncontrollable, ridiculous, what the hell? And then that kind of stuff happens, and you're like, I don't even know. It's not like I'm aiming any different. The only times I've really been trying to super duper pixel perfect aim was versus a TA-152, and I was lucky the shots were hitting. And versus the bomber when the shots weren't hitting. Alright, let's keep moving here. Let's get our engine cooling on. We've got a decent amount of boost. Like, I'm having a pretty good game as far as personal points is concerned. It's just frustrating as far as actual impact is concerned. Let's go ahead and get the... No, shoot. Is he paying attention to me? If he's paying attention to me... See, this is where... Come on. Let's get our pneumatic control assist on. That I would ever recommend dogfighting any plane in this plane, except for another TA-152. Because it's literally the only plane that you can outturn. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Good gracious. Neil my. Can we knock out this JU-288? This is honestly one of the best battles I've ever had in this plane. Like, no joke. I'm glad it's the battle that I'm gonna be. It's gonna be the battle I'm posting to this, whether we win or lose. Just simply because what I need to do is get this pilot built up to a Marksman 2, where I can just start hitting some random shots when you got Marksman 2. So I can see the issue with the balance of it. If you can imagine that all those shots were 100% hitting, the amount of damage you'd be doing. But like, there's gotta be a better balance to it. Gotta be a better balance. And I've got to imagine this is one of the least flown planes in the game. I never see it at tier 8. So yeah. Alright, so we are in our tier 9 TA-183. Unlike the tier 8 TA-152, I absolutely love this plane and absolutely loved it right out of the gate. Now, disclosure on this one, I had the top guns to begin with. These are the same guns from the Tier 8 German heavy fighter, the 262. Incredibly heavy hitting. And this plane actually it plays like a pocket 262. Which you're like, well, 262 is Tier 8. Well, why would I want a Tier 8 plane as a pocket version at Tier 9? Well, the reason you'd want that is because you have that excellent speed. You've got a little bit more maneuverability. I mean, keep in mind, this plane is not very maneuverable for a fighter. You should not be getting into dogfights, just in the same way you really shouldn't be in the TA-152, right? But, unlike the TA-152, your shotgun spread 30mm cannons are rapid firing. So if you miss a couple shots, it's not a big deal. You don't have to wait 2 more seconds. You can simply pull the trigger. Now, these are still 30mm cannons. You want to make sure you're giving decent lead. But you can already see the flexibility of this plane. So this plane, what it wants to do is it wants to kill heavy fighters. It wants to go for high health pool targets. Bombers, ground attackers to a lesser extent. But those kind of planes. You've got a great speed. And so you want to make sure that you're using that great speed to stick with the planes that think that they can get away from you. Planes like this HG2, to be honest. So let's get our guns on target here. Tappity tap, because I don't want to overheat the cannons. Good, got him just in time there. Let's go ahead and, oh, another heavy target. You know what? Back in the day, a pancake would have been a big deal. Nope, they're going to actually turn away. We need to capture this sector. Normally I would chase that guy, but ain't nobody got time for that. Let's go ahead and knock this guy out. You can see the frustration that you could have trying to go for light fighters in this plane. It's not really going to be the most fun. But just one little hit is all you need, then yeah, sure, take your pot shots. There we go. Hello. I'm going to actually try to knock out this heavy fighter first, just because I think he's going to be my easier target to kill. I say as I miss every shot that I fire. There we go. Now let's go knock out this IL-40. Oh, they've got some bombers coming over here too. So we'll just try to knock them all out, I guess. Excellent. So let's use our boost. Let's get up high, man. You know what? I guess we're gonna have to keep on keeping on and attacking here. The BVP-212. It's our tier 9 counterpart. See a video on that tomorrow, if you so choose. I-211, those planes can be a pain, only because if they hit their shots, well, they can be a pain. I've already mentioned this. I don't see... I'm all by myself, though, so I don't really like this. It's not the setup that I would choose. Oh, there's the 212. Of course. Lucky spawn. So we're going to leave the center alone if that's what he wants to own. Get everybody to get the outside here. Fortunately, I-212 is going to be one of those planes that could be a super pain in our butts. Where we would normally want to go head on versus planes, you definitely don't want to go head on in a plane that can shoot air-to-air rockets, right? So, it's just things you need to be mindful of. Where is this fighter? Oh, it's down there. Okay. So let's go for the heavy fighters. And unfortunately, I think he must have sent the I-211 after me because it's just still following me. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Q, come again. Let's keep on moving here. Let me get that sector. I'm trying to get all the outside sectors because, again, my plane has the speed but not the maneuverability, and a BVP 212 is actually able to outmaneuver us. Very, very maneuverable multi-role versus a very, very inmaneuverable fighter, and he's going to win every time. Oh, come on. Thank you. See what we can do here. Try to get this sector captured. Yes, we did. So let's try to get that sector captured. Is that guy still hanging out in the center? He is. See if I can't use my airspeed versus him. Apparently I can't use my guns versus him. So we're gonna push along over to this this other garrison, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on at this point. That's all you can really do sometimes. Oh, that plane's not in the sector, so I don't care. This plane is in the sector, so I do care. Although the sector's not unlocked yet. Oh, crud. Am I gonna crash? Hopefully not. Alright, so this plane's not in the sector either. So I just need to be attacking what I need to attack. Put my plane where it's gonna be relevant, right? I mean, you do that with any plane. But this is a prime example of that. Oh no. I thought that heavy fighter was not behind me at all. That kind of sucks. Oh, come on, engine, get back in, please. You're my lifeblood. Thank you. Can we actually pull this off? Come on. Alright. We gotta let off the frickin' guns here because they just overheated way too much. It's like squall line comes in and the guns stop working. It is a little frustrating, we're gonna say here. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Holy flippin' cow, man. Alright, so we're up 4 sectors to 1. That BVP is still alive. The only reason, see, and he crashed. That's probably why we got the center. He crashed so he could respawn. That being said, I'm going to try to go get this other sector. Let's go ahead and get our boost on. Let's see if I can send everybody for him. That guy. There we go. And again, we're just going to make ourselves be effective somewhere else. Be able to get that guy? Perfect. They got the center, so let's go ahead and get this sector here. Don't like necessarily being the heavy fighter, but oh my goodness, seriously? Don't get my engine knocked out all game, now I get it knocked out twice when I desperately need it. I mean, of course you always need it, but you know what I mean? Am I gonna die here? No, we got the sector. Perfect. They've got a heavy fighter inbound though, so we need to aim straight down to get our airspeed going. Knocked out his engine, which is nice. Doesn't matter if my guns are overheated, like they are. accidentally screwed that up. Alright, so doubly accidentally screwed up. Ah, that sucks. Ah, oh man, oh well.
You've done what you could. Go back to
So yeah, BVP just camped a sector, knew he had the better plane, and I guess there's not really any anything else he could do about that. Oh, they actually had a TA-152 as well? We had a Spitfire? Oh man, I was not paying any attention. Alright, so now we're going to be in our Tier 10. This is the FW-252. This plane, you don't see it all that often out on the battlefield at Tier 10. And the reason being is because, at least stock, there's planes out there that do a better job. Let's go ahead and head for this garrison over to the left. What do I mean by that? Well, this plane is a high-speed fighter with pretty mediocre to bad maneuverability and two 30mm cannons, which do some significant work. But it is only two of them. What that reminds a lot of people of is going to be things like the Swift. Swift has worse altitude performance, but better maneuverability. Two 30mm cannons, and less hit points, I guess. So, kind of the same, but kind of different. Personally, if I'm just asked to take one of those two planes out, I'd much rather take out the Swift. But I prefer the maneuverability of a Swift over the speed, or excuse me, the extra altitude that you get over this plane. Speed's basically the same as the Swift. The biggest difference is going to be your altitude performance. Now what that altitude performance lets you do, though, so not to make it sound like this is a poor man's Swift, what the altitude performance and the extra hit points let you do, because it is pretty significant. You start off with 600 hit points, which isn't much less than the Tier 10 heavy fighters, right? What it lets you do is actually take on some planes that you wouldn't necessarily want to take on in the Swift. Ground attackers and bombers, for instance. Not that you want to necessarily stick behind those types of planes, but you have the ability to stick behind them for a little while if you choose to. Get these cannons on target a little better. There we go. There's that light fighter that I hit before, wasn't able to kill. Something that you need to keep in mind, and this goes for the TA-152, the TA-183, and this plane. There's just times where you're not going to be able to stick behind a plane. You just need to hit them and run. And so, yeah, you're in a fighter, but keep in mind, there's sometimes you're not going to just continually turning back and forth to stick with a plane. You might just boom and then zoom so that way you can move on to the next target. So definitely keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and get our boost on here. I'm going to be able to get in close enough. I just want to get a couple hits on this guy, as I get literally none. Okay, that wasn't worth it. If my shots hit, if I was aiming better, that would have been worth it. Would have gotten a couple good shots in there. So that guy, just get a couple shots and we're going to run. LA-160 can't keep up with us. MiG-15, though, can keep up with us, so that's something we definitely need to be mindful of. I'm actually going to hit my pneumatic control assist here, because a MiG is going to be able to outspeed us. Knocked out his wings. Is this the LA-160 that I said I wasn't too worried about? Wouldn't be worried about it if I was using my speed. So we'll say that. I'm not using my speed, so unfortunately he caught us out in a turn fight of sorts. We weren't really turning, but we definitely were not using our speed. Nice! Speaking of not wanting to turn, going against things like BVP 212s, we know from our last battle, not going to be the best option for us. We're actually defending a lot better than normally would be in this plane. You can and see what this plane does versus high health pool targets here. Still have a decent amount of our hit points left. We've knocked out this guy's engines. Let's go ahead and turn back around on him here. Excellent. 228. Should be able to take care of him as well. And luckily we're getting a bunch of targets that are good for us. Like, they're the kind of targets we would go for anyway. Are coming into our sector. We've already got a Nakamatsu. So right now we're just defending near their spawn point. Pretty cheeky battle tactic here. But hey, if it does something, it does something. Get a couple shots in on him. Nope. No shots in on him, apparently. I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm under the impression that it's probably not. I'm tapping here so that way my guns don't overheat as quickly. Excellent. Let's keep on keeping on here. Yeah, so we just keep on dealing with less turny multi-rolls, heavy fighters, and ground attackers. That's where this plane actually quite excels, because its poor maneuverability doesn't matter in those situations, right? Your high damage output's going to be excellent in these situations. And so, yeah. Alright, let's go ahead, and I'm not trying to go for this bomber again, because I've wasted too much hit points. But we're up to, you know, decent amount of damage done. And having a pretty good impact here. Us hanging on to this sector, actually, has been the best tactic, because what it's doing is all these planes that would normally be capturing sectors are coming into our sector, and we're killing them because we've got a plane that's really good at killing them and making them just 100% less effective in the battle. Excellent. Heavy fighters coming back in again. I don't think I've ever gotten a Flying Guardian badge in this particular plane. It's not typically the best at defending sectors. Just simply because, you know, you'll get a bunch of fighters and really turny multi-rolls into the sector. And that's the type of plane that you try to avoid at all costs when you're in this plane. We happen to get a McCampbell out of it. What was this? It was a pretty short battle. And a Nakamatsu. Pretty simplistic. Let's head on back. Alright, so TA-152. I mean, fine. I did okay. Again, this is one of the best battles I've had, maybe ever, but definitely in a long, long time. And it's all about just getting the cannons to hit. If the cannons are hitting, you feel like you're doing something. If you feel like they're not hitting, and they were so not in this battle, it's just frustrating, right? So I'm trying to get my Marksman 2 on this plane. But all in all, again, we're not going in super detail on it, just kind of going over it for Universal Soldiers. Great airspeed, crap maneuverability, good altitude performance for Tier 8. The guns themselves can do a bunch of damage, but it's, you know, it's all, you know, technically not going to happen. Overall, you can do 420 damage per, you know, shot, basically. You're doing literally 1 shot per second. It's just the accuracy on these is so absolutely terrible. It honestly makes me contemplate going down to the 20mm cannons that you get that are reasonable range. Unfortunately, the synchronized ones on the wings absolutely suck. Ugh. And it wouldn't help me because I would need to, once I specialize this, I'm going to need to use these guns anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with not flying this one again. Let's check out the second battle. Alright, so in that second battle, we got 18 kills. 6 sectors captured. Unfortunately, we had to be the heavy fighter slash bomber slash ground attacker. Because our team did not seem to want to cap. Then again, they were just, it was one of those battles where one plane, this could have been a Yak 19, right? Just sat in the center And, you know, your bots, and apparently our human, just kind of fed him kills and expected to be able to take him out. BVP 212 is an excellent plane, as we'll go over in our next video. But the reason I'm going to post this video, even though it was frustrating to lose in that manner, is because it still does show, you know, what the TA-183 is good at. But it also shows what you have to do in some situations when you're not in the best plane for the situation. This plane can capture sectors very well, but I also know if I'm going up against a specialized 212 that it's going to be able to maybe not outspeed me, but definitely outmaneuver me, and probably outhit me with its rockets. So pick your battles, right? We honestly could have won that if I was paying more attention to the map at the end there. I didn't realize he was coming after me at the end. We could have easily sped away from him in that kind of situation, and actually gotten the game taken care of. We were up 4 sectors to 1. It would have been close, but I feel like we could have won that if I was paying more attention, so I'm a little frustrated with myself. Yeah, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at our third game. So the third battle in the FW252, 13 kills. It did pretty good air damage there, considering how short the battle was. But, I mean, we're attacking ground attackers and heavy fighters. But again, that's what this plane really does excel at killing. The bombers, typically I wouldn't have gone after bombers on full health like that, but that's what was in front of me, so there's nothing else viable. Typically I'll go after bombers when they're on lower health, because the chunk damage that you can do is excellent, but still you don't want to necessarily get yourself killed by hanging out behind a JU-287 or an SU-10 or anything like that, right? We got 8 destroyed while defending. Again, this particular game, just everything kind of lined up. This is not going to be your standard game. This is going to be the game I'm going to post just because I'm out of time for the day. But we got 13 aerial kills, 2 sectors captured. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their 1102 did some heavy lifting there, didn't he? But we were able to literally kill everything but the 1102 as it came into our sector. What's funny is their second highest personal point plane and third highest. We killed each of these guys at least a couple times. Just because they just kept coming into our sector, and we said, okay. So, you know, just kind of some cheeky strategy there by hanging out near their spawn point, but not at their spawn point. Similar situation I did in the FW190D. Got an ace in a very similar map type, just by same exact tactic. Like, both planes that came into the sector happened to be ones I could take on, and I just kept doing that. So, the TA-152, the TA-183, and the FW-252. They do have a lot of similarities. You want to be focusing on your speed. You want to be focusing on your high damage output. You want to be focusing on taking on heavy fighters and even bombers and ground attackers. Targets that don't have the ability to outmaneuver your cannons very easily. Planes that typically rely on speed, but you've got enough speed to actually stick with them for a little while. You want to avoid planes that rely on maneuverability. Avoid planes that are going to have an overall better airframe than you. So, for instance, against F-86, an FW-252 could struggle. Heck, even versus a MiG, because you rely on your speed so much. Any one of these planes can get outmaneuvered by the MiGs, whether it's an I-250, a MiG-9, or a MiG-15 BIS. And so you just need to be mindful of those particular planes, because your plane can struggle versus them. First recommendation, especially for the TA-152 and the FW-252, is try to get Marksman 2. Just helps to get those 30mm cannons to actually hit a little bit more. Otherwise, my setup for each of these planes is very, very similar. Polished skin and engine cooling for the TA-152. For the FW-252. The only difference I've got here is on my TA-183. I actually did put lightweight wing frame on here just to give myself a, lightweight power unit, just to give myself a little bit of maneuverability. All in all, you're going to be completely focused on speed, no matter which one of these planes you're in. Speed and accuracy, especially on the tier 8 and the tier 10. You need those cannons to hit. The TA-183 has kind of more a shotgun effect. and so you're okay with just having those those cannons go every which way. You've got 4 of them, so they tend to something's going to hit basically. But your overall altitude and maneuverability on all 3 of these planes is almost identical. What's changing is the speeds going up and the gun types are changing, and of course your survivability, your actual amount of hit points. So get used to the maneuverability and the altitude, because it's basically the same for all 3 of these, and just enjoy the buff that you'll eventually get with this speed. These planes can be very frustrating. The reason I'm doing the video on this first rather than the BVPs is because this is typically the less popular of the 2 lines that you have the options to get your discounts on. Most people are going to be going to the BVPs anyway, but these can be really enjoyable. It was funny, as the TA-152 battle I had was more frustrating, but we won. The TA-183 battle was only frustrating at the end because I wasn't paying attention, but I enjoy that plane more. And the FW-252, I've got good games in it, and then I've got some stinker games. It just matters if you run into a plane that can be a hard counter to you. Sometimes that can be frustrating. But the plane itself can be absolutely excellent, and I've seen some really good games from a community, specifically some Discord posts that some pilots had, which is excellent. I'm glad people are enjoying this particular plane, and it can be a very, very good plane. That's for sure. Anyway, very quick review of these 3 planes, since the discounts are only going for a very short time. I want to just make sure I'm getting videos posted out for you. Tomorrow we'll go ahead and post the videos on the BVP 210, 212, and 215, and give you guys a heads up on that. I hope you have a great day, and bye.